He was 23 years old and we lost him through whakamomori this year, February the 24th. And he got a send-off. For Team for King, we hold no regrets with our boy because he just lived life on the edge anyway, and it was an impulsive decision that he made that now we're suffering. There's that saying to reach out, but in order for you to reach out, you got to reach in. You just got to feel it, especially a lot of our fathers that don't actually know about vulnerability, because if we as tāne don't express our grief, what are we teaching our kids? To talk to a brother to let him know that you matter, that you mightn't know it just yet. You're destined for better things. You just got to stay in it and walk the path.
Kia ora rā, Planting Seeds whānau. Nei mai hoki mai ki tēnei kaupapa. Very, very grateful that you continue to support and tune in to the frequency of the Planting Seeds podcast, whether you're out walking, whether you're tuning in with whānau, whether you're stuck in traffic. I'm just glad that you're choosing to allow Planting Seeds podcast and this kōrero to take some of your attention and time. And this morning, I am sitting across from a dear friend, someone I look up to and someone who has a story to share. And with us, we have his eldest boy, Māwhai. And he's going to talk a little bit into that. But him and his whānau have been through a lot this year, and the way that they've been navigating what they have been going through has been nothing short of inspiring, and that's the main topic of our discussion today. So, Pouwhitinui Te Hau, no mai to Planting Seeds podcast. Thank you for stepping into the space, my po.
Morena, brother.
How are you in regards to what you know is ahead in terms of the kōrero?
Nervous, very nervous, anxious. But if I can help any whānau that's suffering, find solutions and ways to heal, hopefully this resonates with them.
You can talk about, Māwhai, who's joining us with us.
Yeah, so this is our boy, Māwhai Charisma Gauge Te Hau. Born the 4th of the 8th, 2000. He was 23 years old. And we lost him through whakamomori this year, February the 24th. It's been a hard road, but just very grateful he gave us those 23 years, because he lived each day like as if he lived the whole year. So, yeah, full of love. We loved him, we miss him. But I know he's saying, go Dad, help our people. So, yeah, I can help him in any way.
The nef has left like a lot of tohu, eh? He's left like a lot of tohu, We've heard of voice messages. It was like he already knew, and there were some spaces that, it was almost like he had preempted, not knowing that this was the path, but there was like things that he left to support you guys through this, so it seems. And so, where do we even start with this, because this is not just what you guys are experiencing as a whānau, but this is actually quite common in a really unfortunate way for a lot of whānau out there.
Yeah, well, whakamomori has got so much layers. The wife and I were talking about it yesterday. Our boy had a good life. We've done the best we possibly could by creating memories. And then there's, on the other spectrum, you got the ones that are suffer through whakamomori that are in deep regret, or they're what we should have done, what we could have done. Well, we hold no regrets with our boy, because he just lived life on the edge anyway, and it was an impulsive decision that he made that now we're suffering. There's that saying, to reach out, but in order for you to reach out, you got to reach in, to find that courage to reach out and speak. We did not see this coming, but now it is something we've got to accept, which is really hard. We all suffering, like we got two other boys, Mokai, who's 13, just turned 13, Hiranui, he's 22, and I actually had to ring him last night and just get his blessings, because on the 24th of November 2023, I managed to save him. Just for some reason, I was at work, and I knock off around about 7 o'clock at night, and 6:34 p.m. I just kind of felt a big emptiness, and I just had no more energy. So I told my workmates I'm heading home, and it just happened to be when I was at home, as I drove up the driveway, I'd seen one red band gumboot in the shed, which made me go and look for the other one. Little did I know my son was, he was up just about crossing over. Every 2 years I go, our company puts us through first aid courses, and I always wondered why. I'm never going to save anyone, but just with that split instinct, that 30 compressions to 2, 30 to 2, no matter who, that's what had pulled Hiranui through. My son. Very grateful that he's still with us today and he's flourishing. Yeah.
Not long after, a few short months after, eh?
24th of February 2025. Couldn't save Māwhai. Yeah, but...
And it's quite a, oh man, just losing a son and then also being so close to losing another, that's just like quite a lot. And even just being able to pull through from that first incident, things were going good. And I remember so many instances where Māwhai was wanting to be there and to tautoko, and so the boy knew, he knew.
And I think he planted the seed. I look back with my, with the trauma that I had suffered. I was at a stage where I was in isolation, where I just locked myself in my four walls. I done the taru when I was young, but then with the taru was making me paranoia. Alcohol didn't work, because with alcohol I just kept fighting. So then I just stopped it all. But with that I went into full isolation. I would start to isolate myself from my darling and my two boys at the time, which was my two oldest. And then I was guided to Te Whare. And at first...
You were given an ultimatum.
Given an ultimatum. Shit scared, I've never gone up to Auckland by myself before. And I was given an ultimatum. You either go and check this out, otherwise there's the door. That was probably the most vulnerable part of my growth cycle, journey. And so there I was, walking through the door of Te Whare, having to face my shame, thinking I'm the only one. And then 120 tani from the first person that got up made me think I wasn't alone. And there, you hear the ones from the 60s, born in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, which made me think, wow, that's not stopping. And I remember the words from Narino was, you got 3,000 tipuna on your shoulders. I can see them all. There's a big coliseum. And at the time, I did not know who my tipuna were, I was really just brought up with people that made me feel like I did not matter. There was something in me that wanted to change that cycle, but I just did not know how. And the whare had actually connected all the dots. So after my first one, Māwhai, he's always been hautatu hianga, but he had so much love. And I thought, wow, if I can kind of change the perspective of my being, hopefully he'll kind of gravitate towards the dad to become a version of himself, even if it was just planting little seeds. Little did I know, I think he had already planned this, destined this centuries ago to know that this world was too small for him. And the healing was within myself, then my darling, my two boys before he left. So, yeah, here we are now. Grateful for the whare. The bro, he paved the way for our boy on his final journey. Because all I thought was, we were brought up that if you whakamomori had arose in your whānau, that you would never cross over. So you were kind of lost. And I remember when Narino had come up to the funeral parlour and a few of our other te whare aiopou. And the first thing he asked me at the time, we were just going on our first day of our journey back to where we were going to lay our son. And he had asked me, tell me what you're feeling right now. Fuck, that hurt. Because it was the first time ever that I had to reflect on the chaos that I was going through those hard time of grief. And I just said to him, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm broken. My senses are so heightened that at this time I don't know what to do. And he just looked at me, just kind of, with a tear in his eye, just dropped his head. And that was the first time that I ever looked at someone with so much mana who was just lost for words. But at that time, it made me think to reflect, to keep reflecting in these 3 days. As much as I was numb, as much as I was empty, I had to control my energy because there were a lot of Māwhai people that were hurting too. So every time when people would come up and give me a hug, it was like I had to carry their Māwhai with me. And all I wanted to do was just get out of there. But I had to just face it. Yeah, when your senses are heightened, Mapo, right down to smell, touch, the heaviness. It's hard to describe, but
just
you
real
remember
sensitive,
every faces. You remember everyone's face. And I'll tell you, it was the time of the matatini. We into whānau Apanui land. And he got a send off. fits him for a king. It was huge. And Ray and I, we know a lot of people, but we only knew 50% of those people that were there. The rest I just don't know. That's how much our boy had touched so many people. But one thing he did teach us out of all of this was to smile and love. And it had actually changed my perspective because, his mates were hianga too. At that time, I was angry. I was angry because our boy had chose that life. I'm not putting our rangatahi down, but I just knew that, environment's key in order for you to elevate. And as much as I took him to the whare and he'll be up in the rangis and he'll document a lot of things that he had wrote down about the whare, but then once again you go back to environment, you come crashing back down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I'm thankful for the whare with what they've helped me heal, not just self, but helped me heal through this process. And I think it was a month or two down the line we had to hold a whakamomori wānanga in kōrero.
Not long after.
And, at that time, I didn't think I was ready, but at the same time, I could hear him in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
And go, Dad. You fellas got this. See you, I feel you. I'm proud of you. So we ran, we stepped into the realm of holding whakamomori, but not mentioning that word, but just trying to give our people the tools.
Giving people the aho.
Yes, drop the bomb. And I think a lot of things with people want answers, but there is no answers to it because we cannot bring them back. It's that trying to accept and find gratitude in it all to keep going because you've got other kids that need you. You've got mokopunas that need you. Your whānau needs you. And it is like a sharp toothache. When it hits hard. But you just got to feel it. You can't block it. Because every time you block it, you're just getting heavier and heavier.
Suppressing it near.
Until something snaps.
Have you had any of those moments, my po, where you have been suppressing? Have you had any moments where you have snapped or either maybe even reserved or, disconnected? Has there been phases of that?
I think I kind of hit rock bottom last weekend. And because Rayray and I, we get our healing by helping people. Mm. But since the GC and since all the noise that's been going on, with the whare being put to sleep for now, we've just had to try and process things. I'm an introvert, but an extrovert too. So, I like to, I'm not into small talk with people. I like to know, how was life, how was whānau. But yeah, just over the weekend, I just could not get up. I went back to Omaio to go and flatten our boy's grave on the Thursday. Just a quick trip down, grass seeded him, try to make him look all spunky for Christmas, knowing manuhiri are going to be popping in every now and then. And yeah, as I was doing it, I looked at him and I thought, man, fuck, is this our job? So a lot of swearing, a lot of crying, telling him, man, this is what you should be doing to us, son. Come home, yeah, and just couldn't get out of it, so he just loaded up the camper and spent the weekend with him. Same again, lot of crying, lot of swearing, lot of laughing. And that's probably the hardest time I've had so far. Apart from the chaos in those 3 days and the month and a half, we just stayed together. Isolated ourselves from everyone, from work, from commitments. And we just stayed at our beach and just loved each other, cried with each other. Especially our boy, our middle son, because him and his brother were so close, 16 months apart. He got all the punishment from his big brother when they were young. And we just miri each other through that chaos.
Because that's one thing you're talking about, we don't even get told how to live, let alone how to live through grief.
That's something that you cannot teach us how to live. We can be box thinkers and, no, you just got to do it this way as part of society. But with that, you're killing dreams. You're killing them. You're killing our rangatahi how to think outside the box. And we're not box thinkers. We never have been. Māwhai wasn't an education person. He couldn't stand school. The amount of times he had been suspended and, been sent home. And we just understood that, well, school isn't for everyone. And we knew he had bigger things, but it was just trying to miri him around. Harness it, But then with the environment, he was kind of caught up, and then he felt like, oh, I don't matter in the system. The system's always on me. And then the same, like with grief, nobody teaches you how to deal with grief. It's something that you've just got to walk through. Because one day it could be easy. The next few days it could be hard. And then you find your neutrality amongst it all. You go into te kore, into that darkness, but there's no lessons in there. So you've just got to sit with that Māwhai. Mm-hmm. And then know that your kids and your mokopuna are the lights, so you come back up to keep going another day.
So it's waves,
Waves.
It's waves, tsunamis,
waves,
riding it.
And I don't think the waves will ever stop.
Well, that's a big part that's missing now,
Because just about every time when I'm in te kore, I find something that brings me calm, and then I'll try and use it when the next wave hits, and it won't. It's like, oh no.
Because is there a part of it that feels like, because you and the whānau are going through something so traumatic and so heavy in Māwhai, but then everything outside of this bubble, it's sort of just like green and go? In terms of it's just, everyone's just carrying on. And I heard a kōrero about, your youngest boy was just so hoha about like, man, everyone else is just normal, but it's not normal anymore for you fellas as a whānau.
Yes, our baby here, he's been our rock through it all. And, he was 12, he's 13 now. And he come home one day from school and he goes, kind of, went into the principal's office, and I thought, that's not like you, son. Is everything all good? And he goes, yeah, me and my mates were just kind of play fighting. And I said, oh, okay. His mum said, all right. And then at the end of the night, just as we were tucking him in, he actually broke down and just said to us, said to his mum, Mum, I'm actually lying. I lied about today. And she goes, oh, what's that, son? And he said, oh, yes, we were play fighting, but I just didn't stop. And his mum said, what's that, boy? And he said, because as much as everyone is laughing, their life is normal. And my life is never going to be the same. Māwhai, he would have been 10 at the time. And he actually delivered mokai. So to have a 10-year-old boy being in labour with Ray and I, he'd be the only kid that would get there, bro. You know what I mean? And so that bond that he had for his little brother was like something that you wish all your boys had those bonds. Not saying that him and his Hiranui, they did not bond, but at the same time, they could be chalk and cheese and then they clash. So for Mokai to go through his way of grieving and for him to talk to his mum about it, and now he's talking to me about how he feels, because us as fathers, we don't know anything about how to feel because we were brought up, harden up, all that sort of carry on, what you're crying for. But what we're actually doing is we're just bottling everything up until something snaps. So, when they see, especially Hiranui now, when he sees me cry, it gives him permission to, when he's down and out, he'll ring us from Perth, and he'll ring us that, I'm just down in the hole, I'm 7 kilometres deep, and that's just me and him, and I'm just trying to just get through it. So you're having to tell him, well, son, he's in you now. He's got a passport that no one else has got. Hey, he's got a passport that no one else has got, that no justice system can put a hold on him. Yeah.
He's here, there, and everywhere.
He's here, there, and everywhere. And the thing is, if I choose to be in grief, if my whānau choose to be in grief, then we can choose to be in grief. But if we choose to be well, we choose to be well to help others and to help our boys and our mokopuna strive for a better future, because that fella, this fella, he would never want us to be like this. And he's, I just feel him saying, I'm sorry, I fucked up. And it's okay. I'll just say to him, it's okay, son. It's okay. There's nothing we can do about it. But yeah,
dealing with it as best as we can.
Yeah, as best as we can. And, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of my wife. I'm proud of my boys, because what I'm feeling is totally different to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Māwhai's brothers and Māwhai's mum is feeling, and the cousins,
everyone who was connected hurting, to him, everyone who was connected to him is feeling it differently.
Yeah, the koros. But it is what it is, and it's aia.
Aia. And that's what I think is really inspiring to see, you and the whānau just choosing to lean into it with the humility and grace, but with aroha, and that's part of the acceptance, that's part of the feeling. But I've seen you in spaces when we had that wānanga and kōrero, then when we went over to the GC, even in the most toughest time of your guy's life, you fellas are stepping in spaces with light, and it's not just kōrero, it's the embodiment of what that actually represents. And I think there's something so potent about where that's coming from, because even in mamai, even in feeling, there's still capacity to give. And as you said, that's where you're finding the healing for you and Rayray and the whānau is actually in the using your guys story or experience to be like, we know what pain feels like, but this is the way to be able to, not in terms of follow me directly, but just in being and feeling that presence is a way for hope, for a lot of whānau, that it's not running away from your pain, but feeling the pain is the way through.
Yeah, and there's a lot of awareness programs on mental health and, whakamomori. Yeah, you can create that awareness, but you can't watch your child 24/7, 365 days of the year. And then what does that leave you with looking at one individual where you've got 3, 4, 5 other individuals that are missing out on you because you're worrying? I think there's a need to help the process with people that are dealing with it, that have to deal with it. That filter process where everyone, that ripple effect, because there is no solution. We're a part of a whānau now that we're walking through dark, just like that. Whenever we got that thought, and we just got to walk through it. It's scary, but at the same time, we got to get through it just to get through the next day. It's like, there's no solutions. I just hope that one day it's not as painful as what it is now. Now what we are, October, so how many months is that from February?
Months.
And that still feels like yesterday. I watched on Marae the other night, and it was about daughter, sister. They were tūria whānau from Wanganui, and they put on a fundraiser to try and create awareness. So I reached out to the father just the other day and just sent him a message, and I just said, just sending you heaps of positive and healing vibes. And he replied back straight away. And he said, bro, thanks for that. If we can kind of help each other kind of navigate, because it's a path that I don't wish on anyone. And I've had a few individuals, I'm just trying to, I try and put myself in your shoes, and before they even start talking about it, bro,
you don't want to do that.
You don't ever want to do that. I didn't wish that on anyone. I didn't even wish it on me. But it is what it is. Yeah. So hopefully it gets easier, my bro.
Yeah. Even just a little bit, eh?
Just a little
0.5%. 0.001%. Man, there's just like a lot of grace, and it's just so amazing and incredible just to, like, before, Māwhai's passing, their aroha from the whānau, Te Hau, was just there. And even as he's passed, it's still there, bro. And I think there's something to credit there, just in how you guys are and how close you are, but even just more the authenticity and the aroha that is felt within your whānau. And I think you fellas see people that you guys love as whānau, so that just radiates just to everyone, and it almost like magnifies.
Well, classic example, bro. Ray and I just decided to go down to go and level them out. And who comes in when we just finished? Rānira. It's like, hey, what are you doing?
100%, and it's that effect, But even just coming back, to your own personal huarahi, and coming into Te Whareaio, and I'd been in there for a number of years, first went in when 2017, 2018, and have seen so many people come through the doors, and I always got like a really good feeling when people from home, would come through. And I remember you came up and, you shared with me the connection, how's your father-in-law? We worked together, and I was like, far out. So it was even cool to see that. But then kept coming. And then the more you came, the lighter you felt, the more you came, the more of that. And the version of you started to be expressed. And it wasn't even just localized to in Te Whareaio. It was like out and about. And did you notice that shift, bro? Like straight away in terms of like that first one was quite nerve-wracking and got something out of it, but then you kept coming back and kept being seen, kept being heard. But then it just felt like the more you came into the whare, the more you were actually using the tools, there was like the shift within you.
So my first puri, that was the first time ever I looked at myself as a young child. And at the time, one of my friends, he had taken his life 2 years before I had actually walked through the gates of Te Whare Aio, and I seen a young version of myself, and it was all my friends from Tokomaru Bay. We used to do a lot of surfing when we were younger, and that was our way to escape from the chaos that was in our whare.
That was home.
Yeah, because, you know, little Tokomaru Bay, population of maybe 900 max. Beautiful bay. I'm not belittling our older people. It is what they knew. It is a ripple effect from all our koros that have gone through war, and a lot of our hard-working uncles and aunties that have been taught to think with their hands and not with their brain. But with that was a lot of alcohol. Become a lot of violence. So we would escape to the beach, bro. Because the beach was our safe haven. We'd put a big bonfire, go to the fish and chip shop, pinch Auntie Libby's all her chocolate, sorry, Auntie Libby Hayes. And that was our way to escape reality. But we were close, and I lost my mate, bro. He would ring up out of the blue from Brisbane. Jason Johnson was his name. And I'll talk to him, and I'll just keep telling him, come home, bro. Come home. Yep. And then I got to the stage that I stopped answering him, and because I felt like I was talking to no one. And then he left this world. So, it's to go on my first puri experience. I'd seen 5 of us out in the ocean, and I'm locked with all these big, scary gangster men, and they're telling me to lock in, and I just want to let go, bro, because the ocean is me. That's my soothing meditation state, is when I get to Tokomaru Bay, I can smell the air of the ocean, I can hear the waves, and it brings me back to my safe haven. And when I see my mate out there, I broke down, bro, just in the raka. And I just thought, whānau, you had this space. When we were younger, I think you ought to pull through, bro. So with that, after my first wānanga, Rayray, she rings me, and was it Pokino? And she's going, how was it? And I said, I just can't explain it. Bro, I've never heard of anything ancestral intelligence. Now the Pākehā are taking it, and it's artificial intelligence. All that sort of carried around. Hey, I've never heard this
but it's resonating,
before,
It's resonating though,
Yeah, well, it makes you remember.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you remember. So then I'd be elevated. And then, because I'm way up in the rangis, I'll come crashing back down. So I'd go again. And it just happened to be every 3 months. So, and this time I started taking Māwhai with me. And I said, come on, son. And he'd come. And then Pouwhitinui, come on, Pouwhitinui, that's us, boy. But he was like, nah, that's your fellas.
That's you, yeah.
That's your fellas thing. I'm too staunch for that. Like, okay, then, all right, then, boy. All right. And then, so he started to see things from Māwhai.
Yeah.
And he was starting to get a bit intrigued. And then he goes, I'm ready to come now. So I paid for him. Oh, all of a sudden, him and someone had an argument. So then I'm waiting. Where are you, son? And he's not answering. So we head up and, well, it's not his time. It's not his time. But I eventually got him there.
Yeah.
But through it all, when you'd be fully elevated, you know, I was like a 7th year, 5th in college, bro. You know, like I just kept going and going and going because I was still trying to get a better understanding on what the whare was telling me. But it wasn't telling me, they were making me remember. But because in order to remember, you got to unlearn yourself to relearn, you know? And I was like, you know, what's this? But then it got to a stage where I felt like I was alone in the rangis. Like, you know, when you go free diving and you jump off a boat, it just goes whoosh, and you can't see anything. It's all clouded. And then it isn't until it clears, and then you start seeing all the ika and all the movement, all the particles in the water and the moana. And it's like that in that state.
That's a cool analogy.
And it's when you're in the elevated state, you feel like you're alone. So what do? Sabotage to become a better person again.
100.
Give you something to work on. I think it might have been my 8th wānanga, my bro, and Narino was already going, my bro, I want you closer to the whare. Whoa! Bro, I'm going to fix myself, please. I fix myself. And I wasn't speaking on a selfish sense, but in order to, you need to heal self before you can go heal other people.
Yeah. But sometimes people see more in us than what we see in ourselves.
And that's that. And that's what yourself in the mirror, my friends.
And not just at the downfalls, it's at the sometimes when we're in these sort of kinds of like spaces of growth and healing, we're always so fixated on what we need to work on, but we actually fail to see how far we've come from when we actually started. And I think there's even the recognition that I feel that Tuea was coming from Ngarino was like, because he sees everything, you know, from his seat, from his vantage point, and he's not even just seeing you in the physical or like what you've done in that time. There's like so many things that are, I guess, experienced energetically, our wairuane, that I think that's where it's coming from. But there was like a main shift that did take place within you in terms of commitment to what you were learning, commitment to this path, and the opening that it gave you as a tāne, but also as a partner, but also as a pāpā. And do you feel that that journey has helped you heaps within this, and in terms of like what you guys are going through now, in terms of the healing and the awareness of things?
Honestly, if I didn't walk through the whare and with this grief process, I think I would have lost it. I would have totally lost it. You know, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. You know, to stand in that vulnerability, I would have run. You know, I would have been a runner because that's all I was taught in my life. When times were hard, I would run. And I had to stay in it. But I stayed in it because I knew my whānau needed me. And I knew my te whare ai o whānau were there. You know, your own whānau can be your worst triggers. You know, that saying, we can't pick and choose our blood. You know, but I can choose who I want to put my energy in, and I can choose where I can just put my defenses up and slowly disengage. And that was one thing that the whare here taught me, is about being an energy reader. You know, and there were things like, I'm always an introvert, bro. I'm always in the dark. I look at people from the outside in. You know, and I can already judge people by their character. Am I being a colonialist? Or am I just trying to keep myself safe? I don't know. But it gave me more of an understanding on where people are at. And behind all those masks, as long as you can connect to the person, you can connect to their soul.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I truly believe, you know, is when you're talking about sports, when you're talking about external things, that material validations, is that truly you? Hey, you know, and that's one thing I had experienced in our boys' tangi was that the kids, they would automatically get up when they heard a waiata, were all the ones that are in the dark. And they were proud, bro. No, they were proud. And it made me change, man, these boys are just like my boy. They just got so much love. And they didn't care who was there. And then you get the kids that have got all the material things and two whakamā to get up. And then you get whānau that get up and, you know, that's like, oh, please sit down. If you don't know the person, please don't get up.
Bro. No.
Nah, but the whare has saved me immensely, bro. I don't think I'd be the person I am today with this loss. And even if I didn't have the loss, I don't think I'd be the person I am. Because it's taught me about, it's not about staying up in the rangis and being, these are saying on being elevated, but you got to find your neutrality between the rangi and the pāpā. And if you can stay neutral amongst all the highlights and all the chaos, and you can still be neutral, you're winning in life, because your being, your suit that we got on now, is just
the suit, eh? Yeah. It's not the full expression of being, eh?
Yeah.
And we get so attached to this kind of way of being, whether that's the conditioned self, whether that's, you know, the comparison, whether that's, you know, we're using a lot of, I guess, as a way of being limited, you know. But if we can go beneath the surface and connect to that soul level and be able to be like, okay, man, there is more to me than this. And if we don't know, you know, sometimes that's the question that we got to ask is, who am I, or ko ai au? And if you don't even have the capacity to even find the answers, that's when we plug into the spaces and find the mirrors, you know, or find the people who give you a little bit of inspiration to, as you say, help you unlearn to remember.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole process of, I guess, development and growth and reconnection to self, eh?
And the other one too, is it's why should we be watching a channel that actually irritates us? Hey, you know, because what it's doing is it's creating normality into our
state of mind. Yeah.
Externally we express out to others. If the channel's toxic, change it.
Change it, bro. Plug into something different, man.
You know, why are we worried about, such and such as this? And that's the biggest killer at this time is social media.
Yeah.
Now, people, we don't need to hate on each other. You know, what they do is what they do. We can't judge them. Now, don't judge others unless you can judge yourself. Hey, bro.
100%.
If you can find yourself, then you'll find the true soul inside you.
And then
you'll never judge.
And then you'll never do it, eh? If you find yourself enough, if you go in enough, you'll realize that you won't need to actually do any judgment on other people, eh? You know, because you've gone through so many layers of your own wrongdoings and you realize that you're not perfect. And so therefore what you're expressing is a projection of that which hasn't yet been resolved, you know? So it's like, I like how you're saying, though, just change the channel. Because
the channel, man.
What that is, and you know how I interpret that, is like what we're giving our attention to, eh?
Yeah.
Our attention is what we're choosing to dial into, you know. But if we don't like what we're actually, how it's making us feel, or the drama that it's creating, or the kind of dialogue it's creating, just change your attention, change the channel, you know. And that's on focusing on what's important, eh, my
you know
and
what?
that's like yourself, that's like your whānau, that's like your mahi, and just pouring the right energy into those channels that actually give back.
Well, I think with social media these days is it's programming our people not to care. You know, I remember back in the 80s when a young girl had been kidnapped. It was like huge news all over Aotearoa. It was huge. Now you're getting that all the time, but it's become normality that people don't care.
It's just like, that again.
Now look at them now. They're already putting war on TV. They're putting about our Māori party, how they've, you know, is that really, I think the only good thing I've ever seen on the news was when they saved those people in the cave. If we're watching that, you know, and we're watching rubbish on social media. Are we really serving ourselves?
Exactly.
Are we a servant for our people?
And that takes a lot of conscious effort to be able to be mindful about what we're taking in social media, you know, and it is a distraction, you know, gives us so much dopamine. And for me, being like quite active in the social media space, those are the kinds of things that I have to manage within myself is like, okay, I'm mindlessly scrolling here, just either disengage or like take my phone over there or put it in my bag and then they play time with the kids, or even if I'm trying to work, it's easily accessible, eh?
Yeah.
Even if it's not like negative things that you're watching, it's a distraction from either what you need to do or it's a little bit of a pick-me-up if you're feeling low. And so there's all of these kinds of chemical imbalances that social media has.
And that's a good thing about your podcast, bro, is if people are feeling in a negative way on what they're watching, they can watch stuff that resonates with them through the positivity that you put through on your content.
And that's the whole focus of like how I even do content, even with it's the podcast or even on my main page, is just trying to bring more of that uplifting kind of like kōrero into the mix, say, you know?
You know, like having a conversation with our boy in Perth last night, you know, we were on the phone at midnight and he just, that's the changes and the shifts in him, bro.
Man.
You know, he talks about the raniras. He talks about the te ururangis. You know, and I'm thinking, me as a father, you know, I'm in awe that my boys choose role models like you. Even though I'd love me to be the role model, but I'll be the boxing bag.
Well, when we done their kōrero whānau post, you know, a few months after, you know, got to see Pouwhitinui in action. And what I mean by in action, he was just present. You know, he was there. There was a bit of a skerfuffle, you know, not long before that actual wānanga. But he gave me a message after my po, and it was actually it landed because of maybe some of the conversations that you fellas just had last night around how he has been watching and how he does resonate with a lot of like my stuff and the things around just being in wānanga together. So I really, really felt a lot of connection in regards to that. And so the thing that I also feel is that we don't know who's watching and we don't know who's actually drawing kind of energy in that regard. So, you know, just for your boy to be experiencing the same kind of level of grief, but also going through his own things and coming into being a pāpā shortly. And, you know, just there's things that happen for a reason. And although we don't know the full reason or is the full why, we can tend to leverage our shortcomings to be our greatest strengths. And the way that I want to interpret that for you, my po, is like, you fellas have gone through this, but no doubt you want to give so much more life to living, eh? Because that's what the aho is. That's what the light is in the dark, there's a light. And if we can use that darkness to bring out more light, then it almost feels like that's the appropriate way to go about it. But how intoxicating is that darkness when you're feeling it though, eh? Can you talk about that? Has there ever been a time where, you know, it's sort of like, man, you just want to give in to just how shit it feels and how bad it is?
The darkness of it all is having to identify him. Having to, that it had already got out on social media that we were rushing to the intermediate to pick our baby up before he had found out, and we still did not know. We had heard that there was a possibility, and then he had done it in another region, but still had hope and just wanted to stop all the noise before it got to our close ones. And the drive, you know, the drive from Whakatane, from picking our baby up to going over to Tauranga to identify, was probably the hardest as a parent because she's still holding hope.
Unknown, eh?
So that darkness is probably more wishing it wasn't him. But having to accept that it is. I wish I could meet the koro that found him and just to let him know how much of a good boy he was. And just to wrap our aroha around the people that have found him that day and comfort him until the police had arrived. That's the only but a darkness that I go through, and when it hits, it's more not angry, it's just having to replay that tape all over again. I try and block that out, but I don't think I'll get closure until I get to meet that koro and the other fire that had
Has there
comforted.
been effort to find them, or has there been any progress in being able to connect?
Nah,
there hasn't.
nah.
Is that because you don't know who they are? Or?
I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are, my poo. Yeah, but every other, it's when the darkness is, I just go down. And I go down and just cry and sob and try and find ways to stop getting out of thought. Because when I go to thought, I start replaying that.
True.
To having to answer to my other son, Perth. Because as much as he just wanted to get here as soon as possible, I couldn't get him there, you know. So we had to go through that process of getting him home and then having to transfer our boy from Tauranga to Rotorua. We're in a little glass room. If I would replay it, I think I would have told everyone to get out. Because there were just too much people there that I did not know. And they weren't as close. I just wanted our immediate, just so we could grieve, knowing that when we take him back to Te whānau Apanui, Te whānau Anuku, that it was everyone else's turn. But I suppose everything happens for a reason, eh? Yeah.
So for people who are going through the same kind of like my po, what are some of the kōrero that you feel is been something that you and Rayray talk about, or you and your tamariki talk about, that keep you fellas sort of like connected and keep pushing through? Like, what are some of those things that you guys do as a whānau that support one another, that might be helpful for other whānau going through their own grieving?
Find the funny times, the funny moments. Find gratitude. You know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I had 23 years with him. There is no solution. You just got to feel it. You got to let it rush through you. Especially a lot of our fathers that don't actually know about vulnerability. You know, because if we, as tāne, don't express our grief, what are we teaching our kids? How are we supposed to get people to reach out when they can't even trust the ones that they love the most? Love laugh. Love, laugh. Create more moments. Because our loved ones, they'll be cheering us on up there. Yeah. Love. Yeah.
Beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about that voice message that Māwhai left before, and you fellas played it before we had that kōrero wānanga, and you played it for us all? Can you talk about where that voice message come from, but then listening to it again and then playing it for everyone, and it was just like far out. It was buzzy.
So like 12 months before he left this world, we were at a wānanga that he wanted to come up, but he had to work. He was in Hamilton at the time. And he left us this message, and the message had spoken to, I'm proud of you, Mum. I'm proud of you, Dad. I'm proud of all our inga and all our ine. To all our Uncle Narino, Uncle Brad, Uncle Raniera.
Tell them I love them.
Yeah, tell them I love them. Tell them I'm proud of them. Stay in it. I see you. I feel you. Mauri ora. Yeah, and then at the end of it, as we were all, because we were all crying when we heard it. Out. We were all crying, and next thing, Te hurt, and it broke us out of the crying. Yeah. But yeah, it was like a message that he had pre-planned it years ago.
Yeah. It just felt spiritual, man. It was like,
yeah.
You know, you could feel his wairua, but like for the purpose as to like what we all came together for, you know, what you had put the tono out for, you know, we all came. We all had that night together beforehand, which was beautiful, and doing the wānanga and having the night together. There was just so many things that were carrying us, I guess, all through that, and for it to be as powerful and as it was, doing a wānanga around this kind of kaupapa already has weight attached to it. But the intention from Ngarino was to not give it any kind of power.
Energy. Yeah.
We didn't give it any power by not saying what it was or anything like that. We actually, in reflection now, we went into that carrying your guys' Maori at the forefront in terms of you and Rayray in terms of the aroha, you know, and I think that's what was quite, you know, even coming into kōrero, you know, and whānau who hadn't been there already just felt the sense of manaaki, the atahua, and there were those sort of synchronicities hearing that from Māwhai, the whānau who came through, and, you know, just doing it 2 months after, that's incredible. And like, what even drew you guys to say, oh, we're going to do this, even in the sensitivity of going through those early stages of it all?
So after we buried our boy, I had a yarn with a lot of my Te Hau nieces and nephews that were still in Omaiu, but they were on their way back, you know, back to Tairāwhiti, back to Rotorua, wherever. And I had actually had a yarn with them because I just wanted to ask them, you know, how connected are you fellas to each other? Can we connect with each other? You know, do we love each other? Are we active enough to say when we're down to reach out to each other? Have we got the courage within to reach out? And just to keep an eye out on each other, because I don't want another chaos happening to any of our other whānau. And they took that on. I could hear him. There were a few tohu at our boys' tangi. And I was looking at his mates, you know, because they had lost a mate 4 or 5 months before that.
Too.
You know, and him and Māwhai used to go to school together at Raukura. So they were boarding together at the hostel. I could hear him. I was going, go there, help our people, help the community. But I was angry at the time. I was angry at the time because there were times that we were looking for help. But we did not know where to look. It was either you go to one service and then they say, nah, that's a police thing. You go to the police, nah, that's a... So we're kind of going backwards and forwards. And all we wanted was just to try and give our boy the help he needs. So whakamomori's run rampant along kōrero throughout the years. There was a time there where it was heavy. It was heavy for our people. And it was just like, come on, they bring them together, for my mate's sake, let them know that they matter. And Nārino he was just waiting. So when you fellas are ready, Māpō, we'll drop the bomb. And so through it all, just talking about it, having yarns with him. And when he said, we're not going to give that word any Māpō. And I was just like, oh, thank you. Because it kind of took the pressure off us. But then to see whānau walk through, it was really heavy. Because you knew their kids, or Ray knew their kids. Ray used to teach these kids. And then the night before, because, Te Whare Ai, they held us up through those 3 days of grieving, 4 days, right through to now. But in that time of grief, they never got a chance to grieve. So the night before, to have our kōrero all us pau, and to have a tangi, and I was like, yes, now it's your fellas time to grieve, We're okay, we'll just cry with you fellas. And I think that gave us the reset to drop in the next day and drop the aho.
To serve.
Yeah. A lot of my people, bro, a lot of my close ones, a lot of Ray's close ones, they're scared of our pau. And the reason why they're scared is we look right through their eyes. It's, oh, no, she's looking at me. Oh, no, he's looking at me.
What are they seeing? They're judging me. I know that's rule number 1 in Te Whare Ai.
Yeah.
You will not be judged.
So, I thank the whare for that. For bringing it to kōrero. To good old kōrero.
As much as there's a lot of noise around Te Whare Ai, or for those of us who have been committed to this kaupapa, have seen the impact of positive changes that it's happened throughout many whānau, Of course, it's not going to be for everyone, but this is a great example of how the whare does show up, in times of need. And it's not even just for people who are directly connected, but for it to go to a community for the sole purpose of being asked to, and for the mahi that was done. And that takes a lot, that takes a lot. And it was done with relative ease because of how significant and because of the nature of the ask. Because of how much has been given to the whare from people who were there as well. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity because there is a lot of noise out there. And those of us who, as I say, are committed to the kaupapa, we don't allow the noise to take away from the essence of what the whare has been so generous in giving, and that's change, for a lot of people. And so I just wanted to take the time just to be able to jump in and really recognise you know, the mana of the kaupapa.
It's huge, you know, and you're going to get your haters, you know, but if you give it the energy, what does it do? It keeps fueling. So if you don't give it the energy, what does it do? Goes out.
Goes away. White noise. Near.
And it saved people. You know, the mātauranga that you get from the whare, not just from Narino, you know, but all the pau. You know, they're all capturing their 1%ers in their lane. If we can catch, if Ray and I can catch our people through whakamomori in that lane, we know we got that 1%er. Just, you know, young, well-spoken, handsome young men like me. If you can capture your young men, right, that's another 1%.
That's right.
You know, we know we're winning. We're knowing that those tāne are going back to their whare to try and make change so they can build their bridges with their wahine or with their whānau, or just to see their babies look at their father differently. Yeah, it's just...
And what do you think about that, bro? You know, there's a kaupapa that I've been sharing. It's called Brother to Brother, and that is a direct intention, you know, for our brothers, and I've been sharing it quite a lot in pretty much every episode, and that's because, you know, there are a lot of our young tāne out there who are going through things, and they are at that point of feeling mamai, and, you know, the world is coming down, and even for their split second, you know. And I don't know if this is the right energy to go about it, but, you know, if there was something that you could have said to Māwhai in that time, or to a young tāne who is going through something, what are some of the kōrero that you feel would be important to share in those kinds of moments of desperate need, but without knowing that they need it? Because that's the kind of conversations that I'm wanting to bring out, and this is for the person who's watching. And the kōrero that's coming from us is us being their brother, us being their pāpā, us being their person next to them in their time of need. And I just wanted to pose that question to you around, you know, what are some words, what are some things to share in that regard?
When you're constantly around a brother that always says, I love you. You know, I love you, bro. You know, I got you. Sometimes they take that same for granted. But if you know, it's to talk to a brother to let him know that you matter, that you mightn't know it just yet, you're destined for better things. You just got to stay in it and walk the path. Those sort of little nuggets get embedded in their cellular memory. Yeah, I matter.
I matter.
I matter. Because we all matter. It's just, we just got to find our purpose. You know, yarning with Pouwhitinui last night. And we've had this conversation before we even dropped the aho in kōrero. And I just wanted to know, you know, from his perspective. Because he crossed over. And at the time, you know, he had all these dreams. He was off to Perth to make a new start, break away from the environment that he was in. And he isolated himself from all the drugs. And he just stayed in his room. Because he wanted it so much. You know, and he got the job. So we were kind of celebrating over the phone while I was at work. Little did I know, bang, there he was, in the shed. So to have that yarn with him, like, son, where are we going? Well, you know, his mum and dad, we just want to try and find answers. How can we do it better? And he said, it's not choose. I said, and he told me, he said, if you're not from the whenua, you haven't got a purpose here. And when you haven't got a purpose, you're either going to go to drugs, alcohol, the gangs, or you're going to end it. And it woke me up, bro. I thought, fuck. And I said, would it have been different if we were on our whenua? And he said, well, look at my cousins. They're not working, but they love hunting. They love fishing, they love diving, and they're living. And I just thought, wow, you know, that's a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I always thought you got to be part of society. I was the box thinker. I was stuck in that box, which really changed my way on how our rangatahi look at life these days, because they've already seen it. They've already seen that if you ain't got bills and you're still living, you're happy on your whenua. You know, it's like, wow. So a purpose is a good one, my poo. It's to find your purpose. And the thing was, is we were supportive of him. Okay, so you want a job in Perth? Okay, I've got links. I've got a niece there that she might be able to help you out, blah, blah. I've got contacts. And just lucky networking helps, my phone.
Yeah.
Networking helps to know people. But in order to know people, you got to give your self, give aroha, give your best version, make them matter for them to connect to you. And there was, now, you know, he's away. One thing I've noticed between our people in Aotearoa and over in Perth from Whitinui's view is you are your business. You know, when you're on days off and you've got to go and get your work in the heights, you got to pay for it, and you got to do the license, and you've got to do the course to get the ticket. We're here, when you're already in a job, they pay for everything. So we're just in that cruise mode.
Cruise mode, eh?
And hence the reason when I talk about my first aid, you know, every 2 years, the company, oh, you got to go and, refresh, here we go, you know, this waste 8 hours.
Yeah.
But it helps on things like this, bro, because I managed to save it. And I think if it would have been, if I didn't, I would have lost too, bro, because
just freaked out, eh?
He loves so much that he wouldn't be able to cope.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that to have my yarns with Whitinui now, and just to hear him say, I'm proud of you, Dad, you know, I'll take that. Now I'll take that, and that's part of me now. And I keep saying to him, I'm proud of you, son, for the risks and everything you have to take to make yourself feel happy. And he said, I'm not happy, but money helps. Oh, mum, can I have a loan? And I'm thinking, huh?
You're the one with the money, bro.
I'll pay you back.
I didn't think that was going to ever go away.
Yeah, bro.
Well, that's beautiful, you know, and there was something just so strong about that word matter, you know, because when you do hear I love you quite a lot, you know, the substance of it can kind of dilute in a way, but you just want them to know, eh?
Yeah.
So you do say
matter,
it, you
man.
know, you do say it, but, you know, that matter is like, that's something that can really drop in.
And you mightn't know it yet.
Nah.
But, you know, trust the process. It'll come.
And even that question mark, it's good to know, purpose, but, you know, and to put something out there, I didn't know my purpose until till recent, you know, a couple of years ago, you know, and I'm 33 now. So if you're a young person who's around 18, 17, 21, and you feel like you don't got a purpose, well, you shouldn't have a purpose at that age, you know, like you're still figuring out. You should be living, you should be making a few mistakes and, you know, finding your way. But that's the whole journey of life is finding your way and feeling lost. Like that should be a state that you should feel not alone in, because if you look around, there's a lot of people who are lost and floating. Even people who are like older than me, you know, in their 40s, 50s, 60s are still trying to figure it out. But perhaps they've just given up on trying to find it. So what I'm wanting to say is just to latch onto that is that you do matter. Finding your purpose is the journey in itself.
And if you break down that word mistake, take 1, take 2, take 3. That's a nugget I got out of the funny.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's not a mistake. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Take another one.
Take
another one.
Get rid of that. You've made a mistake. No, you've just made a learning.
You've just made a learning. Take another one. Take another one.
Oh, you're running out of learnings.
Lucky there's unlimited, bro. And the thing with that is that if you do learn from it, you end up better for it.
Yes.
You know, and that's the thing that we also have to lean into as well is, you know, we take so many wrong turns and there could be multiple throughout one day by like, you know, forgetting to take the rubbish out or getting to take the meat out. You know, those are like micro little learnings that if we don't learn, we'll just keep doing it. But if we find our way and actually take action on it, you know, things start to shift in a small way, but also in a big way.
Yeah.
And I just want to give it over to you, Pouwhitinui, just to close us up, my po, with anything that is left on your heart or anything else that you might want to share in regards to our kōrero. And yeah, I just want to pass it over to you.
Bro. I know you've been wanting this for a while now. And I've been wanting to jump on, but I just didn't have that courage at that time. Our last trip to the GC, Māwhai was already in my ear. I was going, it's time to talk. You know, it's time to talk. And if I can help anyone that's resonating or struggling with this grief, know it'll pass to get you through the next day. Love, laughter, create more memories, and find gratitude amongst it all. That's all I can say, my folk.
Beautiful. Thank you for having the courage. Thank you for bringing our boy so that he could be a part of it as the, you know, he's gotten more attention since he's passed, since he's actually...
No. All the other attention when he was in this world was in the courts.
So mihi ana to you, my nef. But also just even how this all happened, you know, like, you know, there has been a waiting, but not in a impatient way, but in just the, you know, there will come a time for it to come out. And you pretty much said that I'm ready. And it just so happened that I was down in Ōmaio and I was like, man, I'm in a place where Māwhai was. This must be a tohu. And then as I go to leave Ōmaio, I pull into the Uripa and then you and Rayray were there and I just opened up this taonga that I had.
I got it on me too.
I've been seeing it. And so that taonga that he's got on, I had just opened it up and I was meant to do it on Father's Day, which was like months ago, but I opened it up the day that I went to Ōmaio. And then when I saw Pouwhitinui and Rayray there and I had this taonga and it was for Father's Day and at a kaitiaki, I was like, oh man, there's no mistake. So I just took it off my neck and gave it to Pouwhitinui just to acknowledge the tohu, you know, being ready, being in Ōmaio, seeing each other at the urupa, giving the taonga and to now be sitting here and just, I think those are the signs that in the tohu that if we are open to it, you know, and we lean into it, it just feels right. You know, and I just want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge you and your whānau for being so courageous in vulnerability, for navigating through grief as you need to, as you have shared with me and have shared on this, is that it looks different for each and every person. But I'm just so thankful for the version that you've stepped into because of coming into Te Whareaio, having that ultimatum, but continuing to be that po for your whānau as best as you can. And I just want to latch on to what Hurunui said to you, is that you couldn't have done any better. And that gives responsibility on us as parents, is that we can do the best that we can, but ultimately everyone has their own decisions and their own mana and their own power to do whatever they need to do, whether that is unfortunately choosing the last options or finding their purpose. And we just have to do our best to support them in whatever capacity that we can. And so, I runga I tērā, mihi nui ana ki a koe, Pouwhitinui, to everyone that is watching. Just want to thank you for being here and holding space in the capacity that even this virtual space has. But as he shared, as long as one person gets something from this, then that's intention fulfilled. So we might finish with a taku, eh?
It's us.
We'll do a taku that we'll do in Te Whareaio just to close us off, so that anyone who might be feeling heavy, feeling in any kind of way, just allow this taku to give you the moment to be present with yourself, anything that doesn't belong to you, just allow it to be settled here within this conversation. But anything that resonates with you, just feel into it, breathe into it, so that you can wātea from this kōrero tau, and not being an absorber, but just being an observer. Ka pai. All right. Tēnei au, tēnei au, tēnei au, tēnei au, te hapai nei, te whiri nei, te popo nei, mo tōku reo. Mo tōku mana, mo tōku ihi. Mo tōku mana, mo tōku ihi. Te māpihi maurea, kia mau kia ita. Kia mau kia ita. Aumi ai ki e. Ngā mihi, my bro. Ngā mihi.